I was recently looking at 4 different representations of the mythical Green Man, which are fairly hidden away and unheralded in the official literature of St Albans Cathedral, when I had a few thoughts. Primarily these ranged from, why are they here? Why are they not signposted or referenced as interesting features of the cathedral as other reliefs are? And finally, what do they represent? Most consider the Green Man to have pagan origins, which would make these an odd addition to any church, let alone this place, which is the oldest site of continuous Christian worship in Britain, and is the shrine of Alban, Britain's first saint. But later I had something of an epiphany, as I recalled something I had read about a bizarre tenet of Rosicrucian belief, that holds that humans were once not flesh and bone, but vegetable, and formed of plant matter. I considered this train of thought for some time, and began to wonder if there might be some connection between this belief and the entity of the Green Man. This video, therefore, will explore this theory and look at why Rosicrucian symbolism and philosophy could have been inserted into Christian architecture in this way. The Secret Doctrine of the Rosicrucians, a mysterious book authored by one Magnus Incognito in 1918, explains the concept of the plant soul within the broader context of an idea called the sevenfold soul of man. The book explains, by the term the plant soul, the Rosicrucians seek to indicate the soul embodied in the vegetable cellular substance, of which a very large proportion of the human physical body is composed. Apart from advanced scientists and advanced occultists, few realise how a great proportion of the processes of the human and animal body is really vegetable in nature. The growth of bodily tissue, of parts and organs, is distinctively vegetable in character. Recent discoveries in the biological laboratories and in the realms of surgery have shown us that not only portions of skin and bone may be grafted from one body to another and made to grow as well in the new body as in the old, not only that proportions of organs may be transplanted in a similar way and made to grow and perform their offices, but also that portions of the human body and organs thereof may be removed from the original body and made to grow and perform their offices independent of the bodily general organism. And these processes are not merely chemical, they manifest all the characteristics of purely vegetable processes. The chief distinction between the intelligence and consciousness of plants and animals is that the former manifest almost entirely along the lines of instinctive or unconscious mentation, while the latter manifest in a steadily increasing degree purposive and deliberate conscious activity. In the processes of the human body, we find a large proportion of those performed clearly along the lines of the instinctive, unconscious vegetable kingdom. These processes come under the control and direction of the plant soul. They are performed on the plane of plant consciousness, just as truly as the processes of the ordinary types of plant life. Some of these processes are very complex, but so are the processes involved in the life of the ordinary plant. So, the Secret Doctrine of the Rosicrucians explores the idea of the sevenfold soul of man, reflecting the Rosicrucian belief in a complex, multi-layered human soul. Each layer or principle corresponds to different aspects of the human experience, ranging from the most material to the most spiritual. One of these layers, the plant soul, plays a critical role in this context. The plant soul is the second principle in the sevenfold system, positioned just above the mineral soul and below the more conscious, higher faculties like the animal soul. The plant soul corresponds to the vital or life-giving force within humans. This concept can be directly linked to the image of a human made of plant fibres, such as the Green Man, in the following ways. The plant soul governs the process of growth, reproduction, and the circulation of life force, just as it does in the plant kingdom. In a sense, it represents the biological foundation of human life, the forces that sustain our physical body, such as nourishment, growth, and healing. A man made of plant fibres can be seen as a physical embodiment of this principle. The plant fibres symbolise this vital life force that animates not only humans but all living organisms. The integration of plant-like textures into the human form could reflect the plant soul's role in animating the body's vital functions. So, in a metaphorical sense, the idea of the plant soul highlights the continuity between humans and the rest of the natural world, particularly the plant kingdom. In Rosicrucian thought, humans are seen as connected to all forms of life, with the plant soul representing the most basic, universal life force. The imagery of a man made of plant fibres like the Green Man resonates with the notion that humans are a vital connection with the plants and nature. This figure could symbolise a human being who has fully embraced and integrated this connection, becoming one with the forces of life and nature. The plant soul is not just about the physical processes, but also symbolises spiritual growth and development. Just as plants grow and reach towards the light, the plant soul represents the urge for expansion, upward movement, and the search for nourishment, both physical and spiritual. Masonic literature often depicts rooms without a ceiling, emphasising this space for spiritual growth towards understanding of the plans laid out by the great architect. The Green Man might be seen as a metaphor for this growth, embodying the upward striving of the soul towards higher consciousness, while remaining rooted in the vital forces of life. In the Rosicrucian sevenfold soul model, the plant soul is at the boundary between the purely material, mineral soul, and the more conscious, instinctive levels of the animal soul. The man made of plant fibres can symbolise a balance between the material and spiritual aspects of human existence, therefore. His green, plant-like form suggests that while he is grounded in the material world through the plant soul, he is also growing and expanding into a higher spiritual dimension. The plant soul being connected to the processes of growth and regeneration also represents healing and renewal. Plants have long been associated with healing properties in many traditions, and the image of a human composed of plant fibres could symbolise regeneration on both a physical and spiritual level. In Rosicrucian thought, the understanding of natural laws, particularly those governing life and growth, is essential for achieving personal and spiritual transformation. A human-plant hybrid could therefore symbolise the harmonious integration of these regenerative principles. Rosicrucian teachings often emphasise the idea of evolution through a hierarchy of souls. As we have seen, there are 7 of them. The plant soul is part of this evolutionary process, suggesting that humans have passed through stages of existence that were once more plant-like. In this context, a man made of plant fibres might symbolise a being in harmony with earlier stages of cosmic evolution, representing a return to nature or a higher understanding of humanity's place within the natural order. This figure could be a metaphor for the unity of all living things in the cosmic evolutionary process, where the lower forms of life, like plants, are integral to human spiritual development. This also goes some way to explaining, or at least defining, consciousness. René Descartes famously said, "Cogito ergo sum," I think, therefore I am. But what does it mean to think? In Rosicrucian teachings, each layer of the soul contributes to human consciousness and experience, and the plant soul has a unique yet essential role within this system. The plant soul is typically associated with life-sustaining processes, growth, reproduction and nourishment as mentioned, rather than conscious thought or will. In traditional spiritual and esoteric systems, the plant soul operates at a level that is below the fully self-aware, rational mind. However, it still plays a key role in shaping unconscious processes that support conscious awareness. While the plant soul doesn't involve direct conscious thought, it governs the instinctive, automatic processes that support life. This includes bodily functions like healing, growth, and the regulation of vital energies. In Rosicrucianism, this layer of the soul can be seen as the foundation for higher consciousness. It provides the necessary vitality and life force that enables awareness and spiritual development. It also provides an insight into the concept of fate in Rosicrucianism, which is tied to natural laws and cycles, growth, decay, and regeneration. These natural cycles are part of the inevitable rhythms of life, and in this sense they contribute to the individual's fate. The plant soul ties humans to fate as governed by natural laws, the unavoidable processes that all living things undergo, such as birth, growth, decay, and death. Understanding this aspect of fate allows one to live in harmony with these cycles rather than resisting them. In a spiritual sense, the plant soul helps shape an individual's destiny by determining the energy available for growth and development. In Rosicrucian thought, fate isn't purely external but is tied to internal development. The plant soul as a life force plays a role in how much vitality or potential a person has to fulfill their destiny. The vegetal character of the Green Knight in the mysteriously authored medieval Arthurian story Sir Gawain and the Green Knight explores this, with the regenerative power of the Green Knight set against the flesh and blood Sir Gawain and his realization that he could not avoid his fate. And it was the green vegetable soul that was the prime mover in this relationship. But let's go back a bit. On a basic level, the Green Man sculptures commonly found in medieval churches are a symbol in European folklore, depicting a human face surrounded or made up of leaves, branches and other vegetation. While these carvings are often associated with pagan symbolism such as fertility, rebirth and the natural cycles of life, the potential relationship between the Green Man and Rosicrucianism is worthy of consideration. One of the core philosophical elements in Rosicrucianism is the idea of nature as a source of spiritual wisdom and transformation, or alchemy. Rosicrucians believe that nature reflects divine truths, and that by studying natural laws humans can achieve deeper spiritual understanding. The Green Man, representing the interconnectedness of humans with nature, could be seen as symbolising this spiritual unity between humanity and the natural world. While the Green Man's origins are typically, although not exclusively, traced to pre-Christian nature worship and seasonal cycles, the Rosicrucians also embraced Hermetic ideas that stressed the unity of all things and a mystical relationship between nature and spiritual development. So there is a strong thematic resonance between the Green Man's symbolism of life, regeneration and nature, and Rosicrucian ideals of harmony with natural forces. Rosicrucianism is steeped in esoteric tradition, with a focus on hidden knowledge, symbolism, and the mystery of human spiritual evolution. The Green Man's presence in Christian churches, despite its apparent pagan roots, suggests it might have been a symbol of hidden or secret knowledge preserved in sacred spaces. This aligns with the Rosicrucian tradition of embedding secret wisdom in symbols, often hidden in plain sight. The Green Man might represent a hidden layer of meaning within Christian iconography, much as Rosicrucianism does with its secret doctrines and symbols that blend Christian mysticism with older pre-Christian traditions. Some esoteric traditions, such as Rosicrucianism, may see the Green Man as a symbol of spiritual rebirth and regeneration, in line with the Rosicrucian interest in alchemy and transformation, where growth and renewal, like the plant imagery of the Green Man, are metaphors for the soul's spiritual journey. And what of alchemy? Rosicrucianism was heavily influenced by alchemy, a tradition that, on the face of it, sought the transformation of base materials into gold, but, more importantly, symbolised the transformation of the human soul. The Green Man, often seen as a symbol of the cyclical process of death and rebirth in nature, could be linked to alchemical symbolism, where nature's cycles mirror the transmutation of the soul from its base state to spiritual enlightenment. In this context, the Green Man's imagery of decay and renewal could symbolise spiritual regeneration, much as alchemy sought the purification and perfection of the soul. Rosicrucians, with their focus on spiritual transformation through both physical and spiritual processes, might have seen the Green Man as a hermetic symbol of natural growth, leading to spiritual enlightenment. The Green Man's placement in Christian churches is a mystery, but it may indicate a fusion of Christian and pagan themes, much like Rosicrucianism, which often blends Christian mysticism with elements of Hermeticism, alchemy, and nature worship. While there is no direct historical evidence linking the Green Man to the Rosicrucian order, the Rosicrucians, with their mystical Christianity or Christianity-adjacent beliefs and their concepts of hidden spiritual wisdom encoded in both religious and natural symbols, might have interpreted the Green Man as a symbol of Christ's resurrection and humanity's spiritual renewal, interpreted through the lens of nature. It is possible also to find a connection with the Garden of Eden, with the plant soul and the Green Man. While the Garden of Eden story in the Bible doesn't explicitly mention the concept of a plant soul, there are several symbolic elements in the Eden narrative that can be interpreted as aligning with the esoteric idea of the plant soul, particularly the Rosicrucian interpretation of the vital life force and the connection between humans and nature. In Genesis 2:7, it is written that God created Adam from the dust of the ground and breathed life into him. This act of creating a human from the earth can be seen as symbolising humanity's connection to nature. The Rosicrucian concept of the plant soul reflects this connection, representing the vital forces of growth and life that stem from the natural world. In this context, the biblical idea that humans are formed from the earth could be interpreted as suggesting that humans share a similar life force to plants, both being sustained by the earth and its natural cycles. The plant soul in Rosicrucianism represents the vegetative or vital force responsible for growth, regeneration and sustenance. Since Adam is created from the earth, and Eve from him, this might imply that humans, like plants, draw their life force from the same natural source, aligning with the concept of a shared vital energy between humans and nature. In the Garden of Eden, the Tree of Life is one of the central symbols, and its role resonates with the concept of the plant's soul. The Tree of Life is often interpreted as representing eternal life, renewal, and deep connection to divine life-giving power. In many esoteric traditions, including Rosicrucianism, trees symbolize both physical and spiritual growth, as well as the cyclical nature of life. The Tree of Life, as a source of eternal life, can be linked to the idea of the plant soul as the foundation for all living things. The life force symbolized by the plant soul reflects the vitality and regenerative power that the Tree of Life represents in Eden. The tree's ability to grant eternal life mirrors the cyclical nature of life and renewal that plants symbolize, reinforcing the idea that humans, like plants, are connected to these cycles of growth and regeneration. The Garden of Eden is described as a paradise full of lush vegetation, plants, and trees. This environment symbolizes abundance, life, and vitality, which resonates strongly with the Rosicrucian idea of the plant's soul. In this view, the Garden of Eden itself could be seen as a metaphor for the life-giving forces of nature, where the plant soul governs the growth and sustenance of both the natural world and human beings. In the Garden of Eden, humans and nature are depicted in perfect harmony, with Adam and Eve tending to the garden. This interconnectedness between humans and plants reflects the plant soul's role in sustaining life through natural processes. Just as the plants in the garden are nourished by the earth, so too are humans sustained by the same life force, suggesting a shared existence and a spiritual bond between all forms of life. After Adam and Eve eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they are cast out of the Garden of Eden. This expulsion can be interpreted symbolically as a disconnection from nature and the life-giving force represented by the garden and the Tree of Life. In the context of the plant's soul, this disconnection can be seen as a loss of harmony with the natural cycles of life and vitality as the cost of attaining a new layer of consciousness. From a Rosicrucian perspective, the fall could symbolize the disruption of the natural balance and a loss of the innate connection to the vital life force or plant soul that once sustained humans in their pure, natural state. In Genesis 2:15, God places Adam in the Garden of Eden to till and keep it. This task symbolizes not only humanity's role as a caretaker of nature, but also the deep interdependence between humans and the plant kingdom. Adam's responsibility to care for the garden can be seen as a metaphor for the nurturing of the plant soul within himself, emphasizing humanity's role in maintaining the balance between physical life, represented by the plants, and spiritual life. In Rosicrucian thought, spiritual growth often requires careful cultivation, much like tending a garden. The idea of Adam as a gardener mirrors the spiritual work humans must do to nurture their own souls, including the plant soul, the life force that must be sustained and aligned with nature to achieve higher consciousness. When God breathes the breath of life into Adam, Genesis 2:7, it gives him the divine spark that animates his body. In some esoteric interpretations, this breath is seen as the vital life force that flows through all living things, connecting humans, plants, and animals. This divine breath could be interpreted as similar to the plant soul, which is the part of the human soul responsible for growth and life. Returning specifically to St. Albans and why the Green Man, or rather multiple green men, may be here as a representation of Rosicrucianism, it is important to note some more explicit connections. St. Alban, the martyr for whom the cathedral and the city are named, is linked with the Rosicrucians through symbolism and the esoteric traditions of Western mysticism. St. Alban, often regarded as the first Christian martyr of Britain, was a Roman citizen who lived in the city of Verulamium, now St. Albans. According to legend, he sheltered a Christian priest fleeing persecution and was so moved by the priest's faith that he converted to Christianity. When Roman authorities discovered the priest's whereabouts, Alban disguised himself as the priest, was arrested and ultimately executed around 304 AD. His martyrdom marked him as a symbol of spiritual sacrifice. Rosicrucianism is an esoteric and mystical philosophical secret society that emerged in the early 17th century with the publication of three manifestos: Fama Fraternitatis 1614, Confessio Fraternitatis 1615, and Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreutz 1617. These writings introduce the figure of Christian Rosenkreuz, the legendary founder of the Rosicrucian order, said to have been born in 1378 and living for over 100 years. The legend states that he was initiated into ancient wisdom during his travels in the East. The Rosicrucians advocated for a spiritual transformation of humanity, emphasizing themes of enlightenment, alchemy, and esoteric knowledge. Now it must be noted that even if Rosicrucians existed, the presence of the Church and of Alban's martyrdom vastly predate 1378. But the building that exists now is the result of multiple rebuilds and an accumulation of centuries of different styles, fads and innovations. The association between St Alban and the Rosicrucians is not a historical one, but rather a symbolic or allegorical link in Western esotericism. St Alban has a special place in Freemasonry, another secret society with connections to Rosicrucianism. Some Masonic traditions refer to St Alban as the first Grand Master of British Freemasons. Since both Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry share common esoteric themes such as moral and spiritual enlightenment, the search for hidden knowledge, and the transformation of the self, St Alban is seen as a figure of moral integrity and sacrifice in this context. St Alban's martyrdom for his faith resonates with Rosicrucian ideals of personal sacrifice in pursuit of higher spiritual truths. His story of transformation, initially a pagan who becomes a Christian, parallels the Rosicrucian theme of personal transformation and spiritual alchemy, where the individual seeks to elevate themselves from a base material state to a more enlightened spiritual one. In some interpretations, Rosicrucians and later esoteric traditions look to early Christian martyrs like St Alban as figures who exemplify the kind of personal dedication and spiritual purity that Rosicrucianism encourages. Though the Rosicrucians emerged in the 17th century, they often pointed to earlier historical or legendary figures to link their teachings to ancient wisdom. The city of St Albans itself, with its ancient religious history and associations with St Alban's martyrdom, may have symbolic resonance with esoteric traditions like Rosicrucianism, which often places significance on sacred locations and historical figures as part of its broader spiritual map. And finally, a stone's throw from the cathedral, there is a fascinating mural that adorns a building in St Albans that certainly conveys Rosicrucian themes and symbolism. It depicts the death of Adonis, linked with the story of Venus and Adonis, in which Adonis, having been killed by a boar, is restored as a flower, the colour of his blood on the ground. The mural is more than worthy of a video of its own, and will surely get one someday. But that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly subscribe. And you can also support the channel on Subscribestar via the link in the description, or via YouTube Super Thanks. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.